The information provided in this presentation is strictly for educational and informational purposes and does not constitute professional financial, legal, marketing, or business advice. The strategies, case studies, and historical trends discussed regarding B2C email marketing and e-commerce are based on independent industry research and past performance, which is never indicative of future results. Building, operating, and scaling an e-commerce business involves significant financial risk, and potential outcomes vary widely based on market conditions, execution, capital, and individual circumstances. We do not offer any guaranteed results, promises of specific revenue targets, or get-rich-quick methods. Viewers must conduct their own extensive due diligence and consult with certified financial advisors, legal counsel regarding data privacy laws such as the CAN-SPAM Act, the California Consumer Privacy Act, or GDPR, and professional marketing consultants before making any investment or strategic business decisions. By continuing to consume this content, you acknowledge and accept that you are solely responsible for your own business operations and financial outcomes. Let us address the elephant in the room immediately, because the vast majority of e-commerce operators are currently operating under a fundamentally flawed paradigm. If you are pouring the lion's share of your marketing budget into social media advertising right now, you are building your entire financial future on rented land, and the digital landlord possesses the absolute power to evict you overnight without warning. You have likely heard the endless chorus of digital marketing commentators proclaiming that email is dead, branding it as a relic of the early 2000s, and insisting that short-form video algorithms are the singular path to scaling a modern consumer brand. That is a dangerous, expensive, and ultimately destructive myth. In fact, relying solely on platforms where opaque algorithms dictate your reach and visibility is one of the fastest ways to bankrupt an emerging or even established U.S. e-commerce brand in today's highly volatile landscape. Consider the historical trends regarding customer acquisition costs across all major social networks. Over the last 3 to 4 years, the capital required to acquire a single paying customer through paid social channels has skyrocketed by over 60% for the average consumer goods brand. You are effectively paying significantly more money for less visibility, constantly chasing unpredictable algorithm updates, and perpetually hoping your ad account does not get inexplicably restricted, throttled, or banned entirely. Meanwhile, the most resilient, highly profitable e-commerce brands in the United States are quietly generating 30 to 50% of their total gross revenue from a digital channel they completely own and control. They are achieving these potential outcomes through sophisticated, data-driven email marketing. Now, you might immediately think about the endless barrage of promotional spam you receive in your own inbox every single day and assume that is the strategy we are discussing. It absolutely is not. We are not talking about blasting a generic 20% off coupon to a decaying list of unengaged subscribers who have not opened a message in 6 months. We are talking about highly engineered, behavior-driven communication systems that print revenue through precision timing and deep psychological relevance. Let me share a brief operational case study based on recent industry analytics to illustrate the massive stakes involved. Picture 2 identical e-commerce apparel brands, both successfully generating $50,000 a month in top-line revenue. Brand A decides to reinvest its profits exclusively into social media ads to keep the top-of-funnel traffic flowing at all costs. When a massive mobile operating system privacy update inevitably rolls out across the market, their targeting mechanics fundamentally break, their ad costs triple overnight, and their overall revenue plummets by 70% within a matter of weeks. They have absolutely no viable way to contact the thousands of customers who previously bought from them because they never prioritized capturing and owning their audience data. Now look at the trajectory of Brand B. Brand B took the exact same $50,000 a month but obsessively focused on converting every possible website visitor into an email subscriber using intelligent, multi-step lead capture strategies, and then meticulously nurtured those leads with automated behavioral sequences. When that exact same privacy update hit the market, Brand B's top-of-funnel ad efficiency also dropped, but their overall monthly revenue barely registered a dip. Why did they survive and continue to thrive? Because they had deliberately built an owned audience of 100,000 highly engaged email subscribers. They could simply deploy a targeted, well-crafted campaign highlighting an exclusive new product drop and generate a massive influx of cash without paying a single cent to a third-party advertising platform. The fundamental difference between these two scenarios is the stark contrast between a fleeting, vulnerable hustle and a sustainable, structurally sound enterprise. The objective reality is that for every dollar intelligently allocated to a highly optimized email marketing strategy, the historical average return on investment hovers around $36 to $40. No other digital marketing channel currently in existence comes close to that level of long-term capital efficiency. But here is the critical catch, and the massive open loop you need to understand right now if you want to survive the next 5 years of digital commerce. Most e-commerce founders and their internal marketing teams are fundamentally misunderstanding how to communicate with modern, highly skeptical consumers. They are sending emails that look and read like digital grocery flyers, completely devoid of empathy, brand narrative, or customer-centric personalization. By doing so, they are actively triggering aggressive spam filters, systematically destroying their domain-sending reputation, and permanently alienating their hard-earned customer base. In this comprehensive masterclass, we are going to expose the exact psychological triggers, the specific structural design templates, and the behavioral automation flows that separate the amateur, struggling brands from the 9-figure e-commerce titans. We are going to meticulously dissect the actual campaigns that historically convert at the highest possible levels, and I will show you precisely why one subtle psychological shift in your subject line strategy could realistically be the difference between a 0% open rate and a massive predictable spike in your weekend sales volume. If you are an e-commerce store owner, a digital marketer, a media buyer, or a brand operator based in the US market, the fundamental problem you are facing today is undeniable and rapidly escalating. The cost of consumer attention is sitting at an all-time historical high, while brand loyalty and baseline consumer trust are sitting at an all-time low. You are likely struggling to turn expensive, one-time buyers into loyal multi-year repeat customers. You are watching your cart abandonment rates climb month over month, while your operational profit margins continue to shrink under the crushing weight of rising shipping, warehousing, and manufacturing costs. This deep dive session is engineered specifically to address and solve that exact crisis of brand profitability and long-term customer retention. Today, I am going to walk you step by step through a carefully curated series of powerful battle-tested B2C email marketing examples that you can begin analyzing and modeling for your own digital storefront immediately. We will absolutely not be dealing in vague, high-level marketing theories or outdated academic concepts that have no bearing on today's market. Instead, we are going to analyze real-world commercial case studies, break down the underlying copywriting frameworks line by granular line, examine the specific visual design hierarchies that dictate user click-through rates, and map out the complex back-end timing sequences that maximize your revenue potential without annoying or fatiguing your subscriber base. You will learn how to architect a compelling welcome series that effectively transforms cold, skeptical website traffic into raving brand advocates within the crucial first 48 hours of interaction. You will discover the precise structural anatomy of a highly optimized abandoned checkout email that historically recovers lost, bottom-of-funnel sales at a staggering rate compared to the standard industry average. Furthermore, we will dive exceptionally deep into post-purchase nurture sequences, which are the absolute key to dramatically increasing a customer's lifetime value over extended periods. We will explore how these specific automated flows can help shift a stagnant $40 average order value into a highly profitable $400 long-term relationship over a 12-month to 24-month period. By the time we are finished examining these specific B2C examples in this initial phase of the masterclass, you will possess a comprehensive, actionable blueprint for building a highly lucrative owned marketing ecosystem from the ground up. You will deeply understand the critical importance of segmenting your audience based on their explicit purchasing behavior, browsing history, and implicit engagement metrics. You will learn exactly how to tailor your brand messaging to their specific, current position within the buyer's journey, ensuring that the right message hits the right inbox at the exact right time, every single time. Most importantly, you will learn how to systematically insulate your entire e-commerce business from the unpredictable volatility, rising costs, and sudden policy changes of third-party paid advertising platforms. This is not just about writing slightly better promotional copy. This is about fundamentally taking back total control of your direct customer relationships, significantly lowering your blended customer acquisition cost, and building a deep, impenetrable financial moat around your brand's core revenue stream. To construct this massive financial moat, we must first examine the absolute foundational pillar of your own marketing ecosystem, which is the multi-stage welcome sequence. The welcome sequence is the digital equivalent of a premium red carpet rolled out for every single new potential buyer who walks through the virtual front door of your e-commerce store. Historical trends and vast amounts of consumer data indicate that welcome emails consistently generate the highest open rates, the highest click-through rates, and the highest engagement metrics of any automated campaign you will ever deploy. We are talking about potential outcomes where a meticulously crafted welcome series can comfortably account for up to 20% of an established brand's total automated email revenue. But the tragic reality is that most brands completely ruin this golden, high-leverage opportunity by immediately shouting about steep discounts without establishing any foundational trust or brand narrative. Let us look at a highly specific case study from the year 2026 to see exactly how this is executed correctly at the highest levels of digital commerce. Consider the operational strategy of an independent, rapidly scaling outdoor apparel brand based in Denver, Colorado, founded by an entrepreneur named David. In the early months of 2026, David noticed his social media acquisition costs were severely compressing his operational profit margins. He had a highly respectable flow of top-of-funnel website traffic, but his initial opt-in conversion rate was abysmal, hovering around a mere 1%. Those few who did actually subscribe were instantly hit with a generic, uninspiring, highly templated email containing a standard 10% off code and a massive picture of a boot. David decided to completely re-engineer his entire approach to data capture. Imagine if, instead of begging for an email address in exchange for a meager, margin-destroying discount, you offered a highly valuable piece of proprietary educational content or immediate entry into an exclusive VIP testing community, alongside that initial incentive. David implemented a dynamic, multi-step lead capture form offering a comprehensive digital field guide on sustainable hiking gear maintenance, paired with an exclusive monthly chance to test unreleased product prototypes. This single shift in the perceived psychological value of the opt-in bribe increased his daily email capture rate by over 250% within exactly 1 week. But capturing that precious zero-party data is only step one of the entire equation. The immediate delivery of the very first welcome email is where the crucial psychological anchoring occurs. When a prospective customer named Sarah from Austin, Texas, enters her email address on David's site after reading about the prototype program, she absolutely does not receive a robotic corporate receipt or a cluttered digital flyer. Within exactly 60 seconds, she receives an email sent directly from David's personal founder email address. The subject line is remarkably simple, entirely lowercase, and completely avoids all traditional marketing jargon. It simply reads, "Welcome to the expedition, Sarah." Inside this crucial first touchpoint, there are no massive promotional banners, no distracting gifs, and no aggressive "Buy Now" buttons. The email opens with a raw, highly authentic text-based narrative about exactly why David started the company after a grueling 14-day backpacking trip in the harsh Colorado Rockies where his conventional, mass-market gear catastrophically failed him. He establishes an immediate, deeply human connection built on shared pain points. The historical deliverability data absolutely proves that plain text or highly simplified HTML emails in this specific first sequential slot often dramatically outperform heavy, image-laden designs because they easily bypass algorithmic promotional tabs and feel intimately personal to the recipient. David includes the promised digital field guide via a simple hyperlink and casually mentions the initial welcome discount code at the very bottom as a polite afterthought, intentionally removing all immediate sales pressure. This exact psychological strategy fundamentally conditions Sarah to open his future emails because she now views David as a trusted industry authority and a fellow outdoor enthusiast, rather than a faceless retail corporation desperately trying to extract her capital. Exactly 48 hours later, the automated sequence seamlessly transitions into the brand indoctrination and value stacking phase. Email number 2 triggers automatically, focusing entirely on the highly specific manufacturing processes and the military-grade materials that actually justify the premium price point of the apparel. This is where David masterfully deploys the marketing principle of transparent education. He breaks down the complex life cycle of their proprietary waterproof fabric, explaining exactly how it is sourced and how it significantly outperforms cheaper overseas alternatives that flood the market. By actively educating the consumer on the hidden intrinsic value of the physical product, he is systematically dismantling their natural price objections before they even navigate back to the checkout page. Imagine if your prospective buyers already understood exactly why your flagship product costs $190 and actually believed it was a massive bargain before you ever directly asked them to pull out their credit card. Then, exactly 3 days after that educational email, the automated sequence shifts aggressively into social proof and community validation. Email number 3 features a highly curated selection of raw user-generated content, showcasing real verifiable customers enduring extreme weather conditions while comfortably wearing the gear. It highlights authentic video reviews and unedited written testimonials. This leverages the powerful psychological trigger of consensus, proving to the prospect that hundreds of other highly intelligent, discerning consumers have already made this exact purchasing decision and are absolutely thrilled with the physical outcome. This meticulously paced, 3-step sequential structure fundamentally alters the entire trajectory of the customer relationship. Instead of burning the expensive lead with immediate, aggressive discounting that trains the customer to only buy during sales, David is deliberately building a sophisticated, multi-layered narrative arc. He is stacking massive upfront value, establishing unshakable authority, and proving the product's ultimate worth through undeniable third-party validation. When he finally does introduce a specific, time-sensitive product offer in email number 4, the conversion rates absolutely explode because the necessary foundation of trust has already been deeply solidified. Historical trends show that e-commerce brands utilizing this narrative-driven, multi-email welcome framework often see a 3 to 4 times higher initial conversion rate compared to lazy brands that rely on a single, static welcome blast. Furthermore, the overall lifetime value of a customer acquired through this deliberate educational process is historically proven to be substantially higher because they are not just buying a disposable piece of clothing. They are actively investing their identity into the brand's core philosophy. This strategic patience and advanced psychological sequencing is the exact operational methodology required to scale an e-commerce operation in 2026. You must immediately stop treating your internal email list like a cheap ATM machine and start treating it like a highly curated, highly respected digital community. Every single scheduled touchpoint must deliver exceptional standalone value, whether that is educational content, pure entertainment, or exclusive insider access. However, even with the most perfectly engineered, data-driven welcome sequence in the world, a highly significant percentage of your perfectly nurtured prospects will inevitably add expensive items to their digital shopping cart and vanish into the internet without completing the transaction. Human nature is inherently distractible, and the modern digital environment is literally designed by engineers to steal human attention at every possible turn. You have already spent the heavy capital to acquire the lead, you have spent the dedicated time to build the deep trust, and they are standing right at the absolute finish line before abandoning the purchase entirely. What happens in the crucial first 15 minutes after they close that specific browser tab will entirely dictate whether you capture that pending revenue or lose that customer forever. The automated mechanics required to successfully recover those exact lost sales without seeming desperate or intrusive are incredibly precise. And if you execute this next critical sequence incorrectly, you will actively drive your hottest prospects straight into the arms of your direct competitors. The cart abandonment sequence is arguably the most misunderstood revenue recovery mechanism in all of digital marketing. In the year 2026, the average global cart abandonment rate hovers dangerously close to 73%. That means for every 100 potential buyers who take the time to browse your store, select a product, and add it to their digital basket, 73 of them will simply close the tab and walk away. They are distracted by a text message, deterred by an unexpected shipping fee, or simply deciding to wait until their next paycheck. The immediate reflex for amateur marketers is to panic and instantly fire off an aggressive email offering a massive 20% discount just to save the sale. This is a catastrophic operational error. Historical trends clearly demonstrate that when you immediately discount an abandoned product, you are systematically training your customer base to intentionally abandon their carts in the future just to trigger your automated price drops. You are actively conditioning them to devalue your brand. Instead, we must look at case studies of top-tier operators who utilize a customer service approach to recover these sales while fully preserving their profit margins. Consider the strategic framework of a high-end coffee equipment company based in Seattle, Washington, managed by an operator named Marcus. Marcus sells premium espresso machines that retail for over $800. When a prospective customer named Michael from Chicago adds that machine to his cart and abruptly leaves the website, Marcus does not immediately slash the price by $100. Imagine if you walked into a physical luxury boutique, looked at a watch, and as you turned to leave, the salesperson sprinted after you screaming that they would knock 20% off if you bought it right this second. It immediately destroys the perceived value of the item and reeks of desperation. Instead, exactly 30 minutes after Michael abandons his digital cart, the first automated recovery email arrives. The timing here is absolutely critical. Waiting 24 hours is far too late because the impulse buying window has closed, and sending it within 2 minutes feels aggressively invasive. 30 minutes is the historical sweet spot. The subject line Marcus uses is disarmingly simple and service-oriented. It asks, "Did you experience a technical issue at checkout?" When Michael opens this first email, he is not greeted with a massive promotional banner. The structural design is clean, minimalist, and deeply empathetic. The primary copy assumes that the abandonment was a technical fault on the store's end, completely removing any buying pressure from the consumer. It simply states that they noticed he left the espresso machine behind and provides a direct, low-friction link back to his fully restored cart. It also crucially includes a direct line of communication to a real customer support agent, offering immediate assistance if he has any specific questions regarding water pressure compatibility or grinder settings. By positioning this initial touchpoint purely as an act of dedicated customer service, Marcus achieves massive open rates and significantly high click-through rates. The potential outcomes of this single undiscounted email are staggering. Industry data reveals that a well-crafted, service-based initial abandonment email can effectively recover up to 15% of all lost carts purely by offering assistance and a convenient route back to the checkout page. No margin is sacrificed, and the brand's premium positioning remains entirely intact. However, if Michael does not convert from that initial helpful nudge, the automated system seamlessly escalates to phase 2 exactly 24 hours later. This is where we transition from customer service to aggressive, yet sophisticated objection handling. At this 24-hour mark, Michael has likely cooled off from his initial purchasing impulse. He is now actively rationalizing why he should not spend $800 on a coffee machine. He is experiencing preemptive buyer's remorse. Therefore, email number 2 must be a masterclass in logical justification and psychological consensus. The subject line shifts to something highly curiosity-driven, such as what other baristas are saying about this machine. Inside the email, Marcus completely strips away standard marketing copy and instead relies entirely on dense, overwhelming social proof. The email features 3 meticulously selected, long-form reviews from verified buyers who specifically mention overcoming the exact same price objections Michael is currently facing. Imagine if your abandoned cart email directly addressed your customer's deepest, unvocalized fear. One of the reviews explicitly states that they were hesitant about the high price tag, but found that the machine paid for itself within 6 months because they completely stopped buying expensive lattes from corporate chain stores. This is not just a review, it is a precisely deployed financial justification. Furthermore, this second email includes a very clear, bulleted breakdown of the comprehensive 3-year warranty and the frictionless 30-day return policy. Marcus is systematically lowering the perceived risk of the transaction, while simultaneously elevating the perceived value through community validation. The historical trends surrounding objection handling emails in the second slot of an abandonment sequence show a massive lift in conversion, often capturing another 10 to 12% of those lingering, on-the-fence buyers. All of this is achieved without offering a single coupon code. Finally, we reach the absolute bottom of the funnel, precisely 72 hours after the initial cart abandonment. If Michael still has not completed the transaction, the data suggests his intent to purchase is rapidly decaying towards zero. This is the exact moment, and only this moment, where a direct financial incentive or a powerful scarcity mechanism is finally deployed. Email number 3 is the firm ultimatum. Marcus utilizes a subject line that clearly signals the end of the opportunity, stating that Michael's reserved cart is about to expire. Inside, the copy is concise, urgent, and highly direct. This is where Marcus might offer a complimentary bag of premium, locally roasted coffee beans or free expedited shipping to push Michael over the edge. Notice that he is still fundamentally avoiding flat percentage discounts to protect the overall brand equity, instead opting for value-add incentives that have a high perceived value to the consumer, but a low actual cost to the business. The email design prominently features a dynamic countdown timer, visually enforcing the reality that this specific offer, and the guaranteed reservation of the physical inventory, will vanish in exactly 4 hours. This 3-part, highly synchronized architectural framework transforms a leaky, inefficient sales funnel into an airtight revenue-generating machine. You are moving from passive customer service to logical objection handling, and finally to urgent incentive deployment. Implementing this exact tiered structure allows sophisticated e-commerce brands in 2026 to realize potential outcomes of recovering up to 30% of their total abandoned carts over a 3-day window. This directly translates to thousands, or potentially tens of thousands, of dollars in recovered baseline revenue every single month, fundamentally altering the unit economics and the overall profitability of the entire business model. But securing that recovered sale is only a small fraction of the overarching e-commerce battle. Once that customer actually crosses the threshold, inputs their credit card information, and finally clicks that heavily optimized purchase button, an entirely new and far more dangerous psychological phase begins. The moment their payment clears, a massive wave of anxiety instantly washes over them. They begin to wonder if they just made a terrible financial mistake, if the product will actually arrive on time, and if the brand they just trusted is legitimate. If you go entirely silent during this hyper-vulnerable period, you will generate massive refund requests, horrific customer service tickets, and permanently destroy any chance of a second purchase. The automated sequence that must trigger the precise second a transaction is finalized is the undisputed key to maximizing lifetime value, and the mechanics behind it are completely counterintuitive to everything you have been taught about standard marketing. This immediate post-purchase window is where amateur e-commerce operators go completely dark, fundamentally believing that once the credit card is charged, the marketing job is entirely finished. In reality, the moment that transaction clears, your customer is experiencing a highly documented psychological phenomenon known as buyer remorse. The initial dopamine hit of the digital purchase has instantly evaporated, replaced by a lingering dread that they may have just wasted their hard-earned capital on a subpar product from a company they barely know. If your only communication during this incredibly sensitive period is a generic, visually repulsive system-generated receipt from your hosting platform, you are actively degrading the customer experience and sabotaging your own retention metrics. Let us examine a comprehensive case study from the year 2026 to understand how elite direct-to-consumer brands engineer the post-purchase sequence to systematically eliminate anxiety, build ferocious brand loyalty, and dramatically increase the likelihood of a lucrative second purchase. Consider the operational framework of a premium, independent skincare brand located in Los Angeles, California, helmed by an operator named Jessica. Jessica sells a highly specialized overnight resurfacing serum that retails for $145. When a new customer named Emily, residing in New York, finally decides to make this significant investment, she is feeling highly vulnerable. She hopes this expensive liquid will solve her specific dermatological pain points, but she is highly skeptical. Instead of sending Emily a sterile robotic order confirmation, Jessica deploys an optimized excitement builder receipt at minute zero. Historical trends across top-performing Shopify stores indicate that order confirmation emails consistently command open rates exceeding 80%, because the consumer is actively looking for verification that their money did not simply vanish into the ether. Jessica treats this high-visibility digital real estate as a premier branding opportunity. The subject line is conversational and warm. Reading simply, "Your skin is going to love this, Emily." Inside, the design is immaculate. Yes, the necessary transactional data, the order number, and the billing summary are clearly presented at the bottom, but the top of the email features a brief, beautifully shot video thumbnail of Jessica personally welcoming Emily to the brand family. The text explicitly validates Emily for making a fantastic decision and briefly reiterates the core ethical sourcing of the ingredients. The potential outcomes of this single optimization are profound. By humanizing the immediate post-purchase moment, Jessica sees a historical reduction in preemptive customer support tickets regarding shipping anxieties by up to 40%, simply because the customer immediately feels safe and acknowledged. But the true mastery of Jessica post-purchase strategy occurs during the operational black hole of shipping. For the next 3 to 5 business days, Emily is waiting for a cardboard box to travel across the country. Most brands ignore the customer entirely during this transit period. Imagine if, instead of radio silence, you utilize this exact window to systematically educate your buyer on exactly how to extract the maximum possible value from your product before it even touches their doorstep. On day 2 of transit, Emily receives the preparation protocol email. This specific touchpoint is strictly educational and entirely devoid of any sales pitches. Jessica explains exactly what to expect when the serum arrives. She details the ideal nighttime routine, advising Emily to apply it to completely dry skin, and explicitly warning her not to mix it with any strong vitamin C products to avoid irritation. She is actively setting the stage for a flawless first-hand experience. Psychologically, Emily is no longer just passively waiting for a package. She is actively preparing her bathroom counter and eagerly anticipating the ritual. By the time the tracking number officially updates to out for delivery, Emily is already deeply invested in the process. This brings us to the most critical touchpoint in the entire fulfillment lifecycle, the moment of physical delivery. Through standard API integrations with major shipping carriers, Jessica's automated system detects the exact moment the package is marked as delivered on Emily's front porch in New York. Within exactly 2 hours of that carrier scan, the system triggers the delivery confirmation and first use guide. This email is hyper-contextual. The subject line reads, "It is officially in your hands, Emily. Let us get started." Inside, Jessica provides a very realistic, timeline-based expectation of results. She tells Emily that tonight she might feel a slight, temporary tingling sensation, which is the absolute proof that the active enzymes are working properly. She clearly states that visible textural improvements will historically take at least 14 days of consistent application. Why is this granular level of expectation management so absolutely vital to the survival of the business? Because if Emily expects to wake up the next morning with completely transformed skin, she will inevitably be disappointed. She will likely leave a highly damaging 1-star public review, and she will absolutely never purchase from Jessica again. By proactively dictating the timeline of success, Jessica effectively neutralizes any potential frustration and legally binds Emily to a consistent daily routine. The data surrounding this specific delivery day education strategy is staggering. E-commerce operators who actively guide the unboxing and first-use experience see potential outcomes where their baseline product return rates plummet, while their long-term customer satisfaction scores reach industry-leading highs. Finally, we must navigate the strategic check-in and the ultimate request for public validation. A massive operational error that countless brands commit is automatically blasting out a review request email exactly 3 days after the product arrives, regardless of what the product actually is. If Jessica asked Emily for a review on day 3, Emily would ignore it because the serum has not had adequate time to perform. Instead, Jessica perfectly times her check-in email for day 18, deliberately giving Emily 4 full days past the 14-day expectation window established in the delivery email. This touchpoint is engineered as a bifurcated support mechanism. The email casually asks how the first 2 weeks of the resurfacing routine have gone. It presents 2 highly distinct, button-based options. If Emily clicks a button indicating she is experiencing irritation or dissatisfaction, she is instantly routed away from public review platforms and directly into a high-priority, private customer service ticketing system where a trained esthetician can intervene, offer a refund, or adjust her usage instructions. However, if Emily clicks the button indicating she is thrilled with her glowing results, she is immediately redirected to a frictionless, streamlined portal to leave a 5-star public review, complete with a powerful incentive, such as a $20 store credit, for uploading a verified before and after photo. This highly protective filtering mechanism ensures that only the most ecstatic, fully realized success stories make it to the public domain, while quietly resolving negative experiences behind closed doors before they can inflict reputational damage. Through this meticulous 4-part post-purchase architecture, we have successfully transformed Emily from a highly anxious, skeptical first-time buyer into a completely reassured, thoroughly educated, and publicly vocal brand advocate. We have delivered an unassailable customer experience that effectively justifies the premium price tag of the physical product. But while a glowing review and a satisfied customer are excellent for brand morale, they do not inherently pay your warehouse staff or cover your rising advertising costs. The ultimate objective of an e-commerce enterprise is not merely to facilitate a single successful transaction. It is to engineer an environment where the customer inherently desires to purchase from you repeatedly, month after month, year after year. We have perfectly set the stage, built the foundational trust, and proven the product efficacy. Now we face the most lucrative and highly complex challenge in the entire digital marketing ecosystem. We must systematically transition Emily from a one-time purchaser into a high-value, multi-purchase subscriber. The automated frameworks required to trigger that critical second purchase, without ever relying on aggressive discounting or annoying promotional spam, rely on predicting human behavior with terrifying accuracy. If you understand the precise timing of product depletion and the psychological triggers of cross-selling, you can effectively print money on demand. But if you miscalculate the timing by even 48 hours, you will shatter the illusion of personalization entirely. To successfully navigate this treacherous terrain, we must examine the absolute pinnacle of automated customer retention, which is the predictive replenishment and intelligent cross-sell sequence. Let us explore exactly how to engineer this predictive timing flawlessly, by analyzing a highly successful direct-to-consumer performance nutrition brand based in Austin, Texas, operated by a founder named Mark. In the current landscape of 2026, the sports nutrition market is fiercely competitive, and customer acquisition costs are astronomical. Mark sells a premium 30-serving container of a proprietary hydration and recovery matrix designed for endurance athletes. When a new customer named John, living in Columbus, Ohio, purchases this 30-serving tub, the clock immediately starts ticking. Amateur e-commerce operators will typically execute one of two catastrophic errors in this scenario. They will either send a generic repurchase email exactly 30 days after the initial order, failing to account for shipping time, meaning John has already run out of the product, and purchased a highly processed alternative from his local grocery store. Alternatively, they will aggressively blast John with a sales email 15 days after delivery, which completely shatters the illusion of personalization, because John clearly still has half a tub of product sitting on his kitchen counter. Mark completely bypasses these amateur mistakes by relying entirely on historical consumption data, rather than rudimentary calendar math. Through rigorous data analysis of thousands of previous customer life cycles, Mark discovered a massive behavioral insight. The vast majority of his core demographic does not work out 7 days a week. They train an average of 5 days a week. Therefore, a strict 30-serving tub does not actually last 30 days. It historically lasts exactly 36 days. Furthermore, factoring in an average transit time of 4 days for standard shipping to the Midwest, Mark knows with surgical precision that John will consume his final scoop of the hydration matrix on exactly day 40 after the initial checkout. Therefore, the absolute optimal moment to trigger the replenishment sequence is on day 32. This gives John a 2-day buffer to open the email, place the order, and allow for standard transit time, ensuring the new tub arrives exactly 1 day before the old tub is completely empty. Imagine if your digital storefront operated with the predictive elegance of a high-end luxury concierge, seamlessly anticipating your exact physical needs before you even consciously registered them yourself. When the automated email arrives in John's inbox on day 32, the subject line completely avoids all aggressive marketing jargon. It simply reads, "Running low on hydration, John. Let us keep your momentum going." The internal structure of this specific touchpoint is a masterclass in behavioral psychology and frictionless user experience design. Mark absolutely does not force John to navigate back to the main website, remember his password, search for the specific hydration product, add it to his cart, and manually type in his credit card information all over again. That amount of cognitive load and physical friction will absolutely murder your conversion rates. Instead, the email utilizes advanced dynamic cart linking. With one single click of a button directly inside the email, John is instantly teleported to a pre-populated checkout page where his exact previous order, his saved shipping address, and his preferred payment method are already loaded. He merely has to confirm the purchase with a single tap. This structural reduction in friction historically results in massive potential outcomes for revenue retention, often doubling the standard industry baseline for repeat purchase rates. However, Mark does not stop at a simple one-time replenishment. This exact moment, when John is already highly satisfied with the physical product and perfectly primed to reorder, is the single most valuable window of opportunity to permanently alter the financial trajectory of the customer relationship. Directly below the one-click reorder button, Mark introduces a highly strategic, low-friction upselling mechanism designed to transition John from a transient buyer into a long-term subscriber. Mark offers John a permanent 15% discount on all future orders, completely free expedited shipping, and exclusive early access to unreleased flavor profiles, strictly on the condition that he upgrades this current replenishment to a recurring monthly subscription. Mark specifically highlights the convenience factor, emphasizing that John will never have to worry about running out of his essential recovery matrix again. By perfectly timing this subscription offer to coincide exactly with the moment of natural product depletion, Mark achieves astronomical conversion rates, effectively locking in recurring baseline revenue that fundamentally stabilizes the entire cash flow of his business operations. But what happens if John does not need a replenishment because he only trains 3 days a week? Or what if he has already proactively upgraded to a subscription on his own volition? This is where the secondary branch of the post-purchase architecture activates, focusing entirely on intelligent cross-selling. The golden rule of cross-selling in 2026 is that relevance is absolutely everything. If John just bought a 30-serving tub of lemon-lime hydration powder, the absolute worst thing Mark could possibly do is send an automated email trying to sell John a 30-serving tub of fruit punch hydration powder. that is functionally redundant and demonstrates a profound lack of customer understanding. Instead, Mark utilizes purchase history data to trigger a highly complementary cross-sell sequence. Because John purchased an intra-workout hydration formula, the automated system logically deduces that John is an active individual who would highly benefit from a post-workout recovery solution. Exactly 14 days after the initial delivery, when John has fully integrated the hydration powder into his routine, Mark sends a purely educational email detailing the deep biological science of nighttime muscle repair. He introduces a completely different product, a specialized casein protein blend designed for slow overnight digestion. Mark does not just throw a picture of the protein powder into the email and demand a purchase. He meticulously builds the narrative, explaining how the hydration formula John is already using perfectly handles the active training window, while this new nighttime protein specifically handles the crucial recovery window. He is teaching John how to build a comprehensive, multi-product nutritional ecosystem. To completely eliminate the risk of trying a new product, Mark offers a highly restricted, impulse-driven incentive. He provides a heavily discounted trial-sized pouch of the nighttime protein, strictly available for the next 48 hours, exclusively for existing hydration customers. Historical trends clearly demonstrate that when you lower the barrier to entry for a highly complementary secondary product through specialized trial offers, the potential outcomes for expanding the average order value skyrocket. Customers who successfully adopt a second distinct product line from your brand are statistically proven to exhibit significantly higher lifetime retention rates and are far less likely to defect to a competitor based on slight price variations. By mastering these sophisticated replenishment algorithms and intelligent cross-selling frameworks, you systematically transform a single transactional event into a compounding revenue engine. You are no longer desperately hunting for new customers every single day to keep the lights on. You are strategically maximizing the latent financial value hidden within the audience you have already acquired. You are building an impenetrable fortress of brand loyalty and recurring cash flow that completely insulates your e-commerce operation from the chaotic fluctuations of external advertising costs. However, even with the most flawlessly executed replenishment systems and the most persuasive cross-selling narratives, there is a harsh, unavoidable reality in the business of digital commerce. Over a long enough timeline, a significant portion of your once highly engaged, rapidly purchasing subscriber base will simply stop opening your emails. They will ignore your carefully crafted subject lines. They will bypass your massive seasonal discount events, and they will slowly drift into complete digital apathy. This silent, creeping metric is known as list churn, and if left completely unchecked, it will quietly suffocate your email deliverability rates, trigger aggressive algorithmic spam filters, and eventually destroy your entire digital marketing infrastructure from the inside out. The precise methodology required to identify these fading customers, psychologically jolt them back into active purchasing behavior, and systematically purge the unrecoverable dead weight before it poisons your domain reputation is a high-stakes operational maneuver that separates the amateur brands from the absolute titans of the industry. This highly calculated operational maneuver is known across the industry as the win-back sequence or the re-engagement flow. To truly grasp the gravity of this situation in the current landscape of 2026, you must completely understand how major inbox providers actively evaluate and grade your brand. Algorithmic gatekeepers do not merely look at how many emails you send on a weekly basis. They obsessively monitor how your audience actually reacts to those specific messages. If you continuously broadcast promotional messages to a massive segment of tens of thousands of people who have not opened a single communication in 6 to 9 months, you are explicitly signaling to the algorithms that you are a relentless spammer. Your overall deliverability score plummets dramatically. Suddenly, your highly engaged, fiercely loyal customers stop seeing your emails altogether because those critical messages are being silently and permanently routed directly to the promotions tab or worse, the dreaded spam folder. This is precisely how billion-dollar e-commerce empires crumble from the inside out. They hoard dead email addresses out of sheer vanity, prioritizing the total sheer size of their list over the actual health, engagement rate, and revenue-generating capacity of their audience. Let us examine a precise case study of a premium home fragrance and luxury candle company based in Brooklyn, New York, managed by an operator named Thomas. Thomas understands deeply that in 2026, consumer attention is the ultimate finite currency. He routinely audits his database and systematically isolates any subscriber who has not opened an email, clicked a single link, or made a physical purchase in exactly 120 days. Meet Amanda, a customer residing in Atlanta, Georgia. Amanda bought a highly expensive luxury sandalwood candle for her living room 4 months ago, thoroughly enjoyed the physical product, but simply got distracted by the rapid pace of her life and has completely ignored Thomas and his brand ever since. Thomas absolutely does not send Amanda another generic, image-heavy newsletter about a new seasonal spring collection. He initiates the dedicated, multi-step win-back sequence. Imagine if you had a close friend who you had not spoken to in several months, and instead of genuinely asking how you were doing, they just started aggressively shouting at you to buy their newest product. You would block their phone number immediately and sever the relationship. Digital marketing psychology is absolutely no different. Email number 1 of this critical re-engagement sequence triggers exactly on day 121 of absolute inactivity. The subject line is remarkably simple, utilizing a completely lowercase format that reads, "Is everything okay, Amanda?" This deliberately breaks the established visual pattern of the heavily stylized, capitalized promotional emails currently cluttering her primary inbox. When Amanda opens this specific message, she is not bombarded with highly produced studio photography or multi-column, distracting product grids. She receives a completely plain text email that appears exactly as if Thomas typed it directly from his personal mobile phone while sitting at a coffee shop. The underlying copy is rooted entirely in deep empathy and high-level customer service. Thomas clearly states that he noticed she has not been interacting with the brand lately and genuinely asks if her last sandalwood candle purchase met her high expectations. He provides a direct, low-friction link to his personal customer support team, offering to make the situation right immediately if she had any sort of negative physical experience with the product. Historical trends across massive datasets indicate that this purely conversational, non-transactional approach yields phenomenal potential outcomes, successfully reactivating up to 15% of a completely dormant segment simply by treating the consumer like a real human being, rather than a disposable digital wallet. However, if Amanda completely ignores this emotional check-in, Thomas' system automatically escalates the strategy exactly 48 hours later with email number 2. This is the aggressive financial reactivation phase. The overarching goal here is not to maximize the profit margin on a single isolated order. The absolute goal is to successfully reacquire a proven, lost customer whose initial customer acquisition cost was already fully paid out to an advertising network months ago. The subject line shifts to a highly direct, irresistible value-driven statement, reading, "We miss you, Amanda. Here is something massive just for you." Inside this email, Thomas deploys the most aggressive, margin-breaking offer his business model can sustainably handle without operating at a catastrophic loss. He is not offering a standard, uninspiring 10% discount. He is offering a massive 30% off her entire next order, seamlessly combined with a complimentary, physical wick trimmer accessory, strictly valid for the next 72 hours only. From a pure short-term accounting perspective, Thomas might merely break even on this specific transaction. But e-commerce operators who deeply understand long-term cash flow realize that breaking even to reactivate a proven, high-quality buyer is infinitely more profitable over a 12-month horizon than continuously paying premium auction rates to acquire a completely cold, unverified lead who may never actually convert. By providing an overwhelming, undeniable surge of upfront value, Thomas successfully jolts another 20% of his severely unengaged segment back into active, profitable buying behavior. But the absolute masterstroke of this entire operational framework happens exactly 3 days later if Amanda completely ignores even that massive financial incentive. This is the exact moment where amateur marketers lose their nerve and cling to vanity metrics, but elite operators execute with ruthless, calculated precision. Email number 3 is the final breakup email. The subject line is stark, highly unusual, and slightly jarring, stating clearly, "We are saying goodbye, Amanda." When she cautiously opens the email, Thomas explains in a very polite, highly professional tone that he deeply respects her digital inbox space and safely assumes she is simply no longer interested in luxury home fragrances at this specific time in her life. He explicitly states that if she does not click the highly visible, specific link provided within the next 24 hours to explicitly confirm she wants to stay on the active mailing list, she will be permanently unsubscribed, completely removed from the database, and will completely lose access to all future private sales. This structural maneuver triggers a powerful, deeply ingrained psychological phenomenon known as loss aversion. Human beings are naturally hardwired to fiercely protect what they subconsciously perceive as theirs, even if they were not actively utilizing it. By explicitly threatening to take away her exclusive access to the brand and future potential value, Thomas forces Amanda to make a definitive, highly conscious decision. Historical data proves time and time again that this exact high-stakes ultimatum email consistently generates some of the highest click-through rates of the entire calendar year, violently pulling a final, highly dedicated cohort of customers back from the absolute brink of permanent churn. If Amanda still does not click that specific retention link, Thomas' system automatically executes the final, critical step. It systematically and permanently deletes her profile from the active mailing list. She is entirely gone. By deliberately and systematically shedding this unrecoverable dead weight, Thomas fundamentally protects his pristine domain sending reputation. His overall open rates artificially skyrocket overnight because his denominator, the total number of people actually receiving the emails, shrinks significantly, while his numerator, the people actively opening and clicking them, remains entirely composed of hyper-engaged, ravenous fans. The complex algorithmic gatekeepers at major inbox providers immediately recognize this massive, sustained spike in proportional engagement and heavily reward Thomas by consistently placing his future emails squarely at the very top of his customers' primary inboxes, entirely bypassing the spam filters. He has essentially optimized his highly valuable digital real estate by purposefully evicting the non-paying tenants. Now that you have successfully constructed an airtight welcome sequence to effectively convert cold traffic, deployed highly empathetic abandonment flows to reliably recover lost revenue, engineered incredibly precise predictive replenishment models to maximize long-term lifetime value, and instituted these ruthless win-back protocols to fiercely protect your deliverability, your foundational automated email ecosystem is fully complete. You finally possess a highly calibrated, completely self-sustaining financial machine that constantly runs in the background, reliably printing revenue 24 hours a day without requiring your active daily management. But this automated baseline is just the beginning of true e-commerce scale. What happens when you need to actively inject a massive, unprecedented surge of liquid capital into your business on command? How do you leverage this pristine, highly engaged, newly cleaned database to aggressively orchestrate a multi-million-dollar promotional event during critical calendar milestones without completely destroying your brand prestige or severely fatiguing your audience? The specific operational mechanics behind executing a flawless, high-velocity campaign launch require an entirely different set of complex psychological triggers and rigid structural frameworks, and if you execute this next overarching strategy incorrectly, you will inevitably train your customers to entirely ignore your brand until the next massive discount drops. This brings us directly to the high-stakes arena of manual campaign broadcasts and strategic product launches. In the e-commerce landscape of 2026, the absolute fastest way to destroy your brand equity is the lazy, archaic method known as batch and blast. This is where an operator simply selects their entire unsegmented email list of 50,000 people and fires off a generic, graphic-heavy flyer announcing a random 20% off weekend sale. When you execute this fundamentally flawed strategy, you are instantly commoditizing your physical product. You are explicitly telling your consumer base that your items were originally overpriced, and that if they simply wait long enough, you will inevitably cave and slash the price again. This creates a highly toxic financial cycle where your audience completely ignores your full-price inventory, artificially depressing your daily baseline revenue, while forcing you to rely entirely on unpredictable, margin-destroying promotional spikes to survive. To orchestrate a massive multi-million-dollar cash injection without sacrificing your premium positioning, we must examine the architectural framework of the psychological hype cycle. Consider the highly sophisticated launch strategy of an independent, premium travel goods company based in Miami, Florida, directed by a founder named Olivia. In the early summer of 2026, Olivia is preparing to release a highly anticipated, limited edition collection of handcrafted leather weekender bags. She needs to generate a massive surge of liquid capital to fund her fourth quarter manufacturing run, but she absolutely refuses to cheapen her brand with a generic summer discount code. Instead of suddenly dropping the product on a random Tuesday, Olivia engineers a meticulously timed, multi-phase launch sequence designed to build excruciating anticipation, leverage human curiosity, and manufacture genuine, undeniable scarcity. Imagine if a massive technology company quietly updated their website with a revolutionary new device without ever hosting a keynote presentation, teasing the features, or building a waitlist. The product would completely fail to gain traction because human beings require a runway of anticipation to rationalize a significant financial purchase. Phase 1 of Olivia's strategy is the blind tease, deployed exactly 7 days before the actual product is available for purchase. The subject line of this initial email is entirely mysterious, simply reading, we have been keeping a massive secret from you. When her audience opens the email, they do not see the full weekender bag. They see extreme high-definition macro photography of the raw, unstitched Italian leather, alongside a brief, deeply passionate text narrative about the 18 months of relentless prototyping, the failed design iterations, and the obsessive pursuit of the perfect travel companion. Olivia explicitly states that a major announcement is coming, but she intentionally leaves the specific details completely ambiguous. This deliberately opens a massive psychological loop in the consumer mind. Historical trends surrounding blind tease emails demonstrate that they consistently generate the highest reply rates of any marketing campaign, as highly engaged customers actively respond to the email begging for hints or trying to guess what the upcoming physical product actually is. Olivia has successfully transformed passive consumers into active, highly curious participants in her brand narrative. Exactly 3 days later, Olivia transitions into Phase 2, which is the VIP micro-commitment and list segmentation strategy. The subject line now reads, "Early access is highly limited. Get on the list." Inside this crucial email, the new Weekender bag is finally revealed in all its glory through stunning lifestyle photography, completely outlining its unique modular compartments and premium hardware. But there is a massive catch that completely subverts standard e-commerce expectations. Olivia explicitly informs her audience that due to the painstaking handcrafted manufacturing process, she only has exactly 500 physical units available in the Miami warehouse. Furthermore, she announces that the general public will not even have the opportunity to see the product page until Friday. However, if the reader clicks a specific, highly visible button within the email, they will be instantly added to a private VIP waitlist, granting them an exclusive 24-hour head start to secure the bag before the public launch. When a customer clicks that button, they are making a psychological micro-commitment. They are actively raising their virtual hand and definitively stating their intent to purchase. Behind the scenes, Olivia email marketing software automatically tags these specific users, moving them into a highly segregated, hyper-engaged launch sublist. Potential outcomes for this specific segmentation maneuver are truly staggering. Case studies from top-tier direct-to-consumer brands in 2026 reveal that these isolated VIP waitlists, despite often containing only 10 to 15% of the total audience, consistently generate up to 80% of the total launch revenue. When the crucial launch day finally arrives, Olivia does not email her entire database. She executes Phase 3, the VIP early access drop, exclusively to the people who actively opted into the waitlist. The subject line simply reads, "The vault is open, your 24-hour access begins now." The underlying psychology here is incredibly potent. The consumer feels deeply special, recognized, and rewarded for their loyalty. They are not merely buying a bag. They are exercising an exclusive privilege. Because the inventory is genuinely capped at 500 units, and the VIP list comprises highly motivated buyers, the conversion velocity is explosive. Olivia generates a massive six-figure revenue spike within the first 4 hours of the email being sent, completely validating the product market fit without ever offering a single percentage point of discount. Her profit margins remain absolutely pristine. Finally, 24 hours later, Olivia executes Phase 4, the public launch and the logical conclusion. The subject line sent to the remainder of the database reads, "The Weekender is live, but inventory is critically low." Inside the email, she utilizes the undeniable momentum of the VIP launch as ultimate social proof. She honestly informs the broader audience that the VIP segment already claimed 380 of the available 500 bags, leaving only 120 units for the general public. This is not fake, manufactured urgency utilizing a deceptive countdown timer. This is authentic, verifiable operational scarcity. The remaining audience realizes that if they hesitate, they will genuinely miss out on the physical product entirely. This final push rapidly liquidates the remaining inventory, completely selling out the entire collection in less than 48 hours. Olivia achieves her massive cash flow objective, fully funds her upcoming manufacturing run, and dramatically elevates the perceived premium value of her brand in the marketplace. By mastering the architecture of the psychological hype cycle, you fundamentally transition from a desperate vendor begging for sales into a highly coveted brand orchestrating exclusive digital events. You train your audience to relentlessly monitor their inboxes for your announcements, rather than passively waiting for your next promotional clearance sale. You have now learned how to acquire customers flawlessly, recover lost sales seamlessly, automate long-term retention predictively, and launch new products explosively. You possess the complete strategic blueprint to dominate your specific consumer niche. However, there is a massive, invisible technical trap that currently completely destroys the potential revenue of nearly 60% of all e-commerce marketing campaigns before the consumer even reads a single word of your meticulously crafted copy. You can write the most compelling psychological narrative in the world, deploy it with perfect predictive timing, and offer an absolutely irresistible physical product. But if you fail to understand the fundamental shift in how human beings actually physically interact with digital screens in the year 2026, your emails will render as a completely broken, unreadable mess. The technical mechanics of mobile-first visual hierarchy and dark mode optimization are the silent killers of conversion. And if you ignore this exact engineering reality, your multi-million-dollar strategy will instantly collapse upon delivery. In the hyper-connected landscape of 2026, consumer behavior has fundamentally shifted, and you must adapt your engineering approach to survive. Historical trends dictate that over 80% of all e-commerce marketing emails are currently opened, scanned, and physically interacted with on a mobile device screen that is roughly 6 inches diagonally. Imagine if you spent $10,000 designing a massive, beautiful, highly detailed billboard, but you forced your entire audience to view it from a mile away through a tiny cardboard tube. That is exactly what you are doing when you design a desktop-optimized email layout and blindly send it to a mobile-dominant audience. The visual hierarchy must be ruthlessly and systematically prioritized for the mobile viewport. When a prospective buyer opens your promotional message while standing in a busy line at a grocery store, you have approximately 1.5 seconds to capture their visual attention before their thumb instinctively swipes you into the digital trash bin. Therefore, the absolute most critical element of your structural design is what software engineers and user interface designers call the above-the-fold real estate. This is the exact pixel area that is immediately visible on the mobile screen before the user has to physically scroll down. Amateur marketers completely waste this precious, highly converting real estate with massive, oversized brand logos, complex website navigation menus, and giant lifestyle images that push the actual value proposition and the primary call to action completely out of sight. Let us examine a highly specific operational case study of a premium direct-to-consumer athletic footwear brand based in Chicago, Illinois, operated by an entrepreneur named Brian. Brian recently engineered a brilliant, highly anticipated product launch for a new, extremely lightweight running shoe. He hired a highly expensive graphic design agency to craft a visually stunning, sprawling email campaign. On a massive 27-inch desktop monitor in the design studio, the email looked exactly like a piece of high-end digital art. But when Brian deployed the campaign to his active database of 100,000 subscribers, the potential outcomes he heavily anticipated turned into an immediate financial catastrophe. His click-through rates plummeted to a historical low of 0.4%, and sales were completely stagnant. The underlying problem was entirely technical and structural. On a standard mobile device, the massive hero image scaled down awkwardly to fit the width of the screen, making the vital text embedded directly inside the graphic completely illegible. Worse yet, his primary call to action button was located at the very bottom of a massive, seamlessly sliced image block. Because cellular data connections can occasionally lag or drop entirely, the heavy image files took 3 to 4 seconds to load. During those crucial seconds of latency, his mobile audience saw absolutely nothing but a massive, confusing stack of broken image icons. They permanently deleted the email before the visual assets even had a chance to render on their screens. To successfully rectify this catastrophic failure and salvage his revenue trajectory, Brian had to completely re-engineer his entire approach to visual hierarchy. The optimized solution relies on a strict, mobile-first structural framework known universally as the live text and thumb zone methodology. Instead of lazily embedding his crucial sales copy inside a massive, static JPEG image file, Brian transitioned entirely to using live HTML text. Live text renders absolutely instantly on any mobile device, completely regardless of the cellular connection speed or data bandwidth. Furthermore, live text scales dynamically, ensuring that the typography is always perfectly legible, whether the consumer is using an older, smaller smartphone or the absolute latest massive flagship device. He immediately reduced the physical pixel size of his brand logo at the absolute top of the email by over 70%. Directly below the minimized brand logo, he placed a highly concise, incredibly punchy headline using live text, immediately followed by the primary call to action button, positioned squarely and perfectly above the fold. But Brian went a critical step further into the science of behavioral ergonomics. He meticulously optimized the physical placement and the exact pixel dimensions of his buttons strictly for the human thumb. Historical trends in user interface design consistently prove that if a button is physically too small, or placed in the extreme upper corners of a mobile screen, the physical friction required for a human thumb to comfortably reach and accurately tap, it will significantly suppress overall conversion rates. Brian enlarged his primary buttons to a strict minimum height of 50 pixels and centered them perfectly within the layout, making the physical act of clicking completely effortless and highly intuitive. However, establishing a flawless mobile visual hierarchy is only half of the complex engineering battle you must fight in 2026. You must now expertly navigate the highly complex, often completely destructive technical environment known as dark mode. Currently, over 65% of the United States population actively utilizes dark mode settings on their mobile operating systems to significantly reduce optical eye strain and actively conserve device battery life. When a modern consumer has dark mode enabled on their phone, their email client actively intercepts your carefully coded HTML and automatically inverts the entire color palette. Light backgrounds instantly turn pitch black, and dark text forcefully turns bright white. If you are not actively anticipating this automatic algorithmic inversion during your design phase, the final results are aesthetically horrific and functionally broken. Imagine if you meticulously designed an email featuring a beautiful, transparent product image of a sleek black running shoe, fully expecting it to sit elegantly on a crisp, pure white background. When that exact email layout hits a dark mode inbox, the background forcefully shifts to pure black, and your expensive black running shoe instantly vanishes entirely into the dark void. You are effectively sending an empty, completely confusing layout to over half of your highly valuable customer base. Let us return to Brian and his Chicago-based footwear brand to see exactly how elite operators permanently solved this complex rendering issue. Brian quickly realized his dark mode users were experiencing totally broken layouts, invisible text blocks, and glaring, highly obnoxious white image boxes that completely ruined the premium, high-end aesthetic of his carefully curated brand. He immediately implemented strict dark mode optimization protocols across his entire automated email ecosystem. First, he mandated that all transparent product images must feature a subtle, dynamic glowing drop shadow applied behind the product. This crucial step ensures that even if the primary background color automatically inverts to pure black, the physical product remains perfectly outlined, highly distinct, and completely visible to the consumer. Second, he strictly stopped using pure black hex codes for his primary typography. Instead, he utilized a very dark charcoal gray color palette. This slight technical adjustment completely prevents aggressive email clients from overcompensating during the inversion process and turning the text into an unreadable, blindingly bright neon white. Third, and perhaps most fundamentally importantly, Brian implemented highly specific CSS media queries hidden deep within the foundational code of his email templates. These highly specialized, targeted snippets of code explicitly tell the major inbox providers exactly how to systematically handle his specific brand colors when dark mode is actively triggered by the user. He actively dictates and completely controls the inversion process rather than passively allowing a random inbox algorithm to totally destroy his visual identity. By meticulously applying these advanced mobile-first design principles and rigorously testing every single campaign against strict dark mode rendering protocols, Brian completely stabilized his technical delivery architecture. His click-through rates historically rebounded, effectively tripling within exactly 2 weeks, simply because his highly engaged audience could finally read his messaging and effortlessly click his buttons without experiencing intense visual friction or broken layouts. The potential outcomes of mastering these exact technical mechanics are undeniably massive and entirely scalable. You are completely removing the silent, invisible engineering barriers that actively prevent your highly engaged subscribers from navigating seamlessly from their mobile inbox directly to your optimized Shopify checkout page. You have now established a flawless technical foundation, ensuring your carefully crafted messages are instantly readable, perfectly formatted, and beautifully rendered across every possible device, screen size, and operating system currently in existence. Your automated behavior systems are firing perfectly, your strategic product launches are highly anticipated, and your structural designs are mathematically optimized for the modern human attention span. Yet, despite all of this intricate technical preparation and structural perfection, you are currently flying completely blind. If you do not intimately understand the highly complex, rapidly evolving landscape of data attribution and statistical analysis, You have absolutely no verifiable way to know which of your campaigns are actually generating profitable revenue and which ones are silently burning your working capital. The raw data that your preferred email marketing platform is currently feeding you on a daily basis is fundamentally flawed, deeply misleading, and if you make massive operational financial decisions based on those specific default metrics, you will rapidly scale your e-commerce business directly into bankruptcy. The fundamental reason you are currently operating under deeply misleading assumptions is because the most celebrated metric in the history of email marketing, the open rate, is now entirely obsolete and mathematically completely fabricated. If you are logging into your software dashboard in 2026 and celebrating a 45% open rate on your latest promotional broadcast, you are actively celebrating a phantom metric. To understand exactly why this is destroying your financial models, we must examine the specific mechanics of modern data privacy protocols. Several years ago, major mobile operating systems and heavily utilized email providers implemented universal privacy protections that automatically preload email content on proxy servers the exact millisecond the message is delivered to an inbox. The server essentially opens the email on behalf of the user to mask their Internet Protocol address and physical location. Because the tracking pixel hidden inside your email is fired by the server rather than the actual human being, your email software records a successful open, even if the customer immediately swipes the unread message directly into the trash folder. Imagine if you managed a physical retail store, and you installed a sensor at the front door to count daily foot traffic. Now imagine if that sensor was malfunctioning and actively counting every single car that merely drove past the building on the highway. If you ordered massive amounts of physical inventory based on that grossly inflated foot traffic data, you would bankrupt your store within a single quarter. This is the exact operational disaster occurring in e-commerce marketing departments across the United States today. Let us look at a specific case study involving a premium activewear brand based in Austin, Texas, operated by a founder named Rebecca. Rebecca was utilizing a highly aggressive automated sequence designed to purge inactive subscribers from her database. Her software was explicitly instructed to completely delete any user who had not opened an email in 90 days. However, because of these automated machine opens, tens of thousands of completely disengaged users were continually registering as active simply because their email providers were algorithmically checking the messages in the background. Rebecca thought she had a highly engaged, pristine list of 100,000 ravenous buyers. In reality, historical trends in deep data analysis eventually revealed that nearly 60% of those users had not physically looked at her brand in over 2 years. Because she was making strategic decisions based on a broken thermometer, she continued to pay massive monthly software subscription tiers to house dead data. And her actual deliverability quietly plummeted as inbox algorithms registered her true, underlying lack of human engagement. To correct this immediately, you must entirely abandon the open rate as a key performance indicator and pivot your entire analytical focus exclusively to lower funnel, high-friction actions. The only metrics that possess any actual operational validity in 2026 are the click-through rate, the active site session initiation, and the definitive point of purchase. You must measure the physical friction of a human thumb tapping a specific live link, because a proxy server cannot simulate a verified website visit. But the analytical deception does not stop at the inbox level. It gets exponentially more dangerous when we analyze how revenue is actually claimed. The specific dashboard inside your email marketing platform is structurally designed to steal credit from every other marketing channel you are currently operating. This is known as the attribution overlap crisis. Consider the operational reality of a high-end pet supplement company based in Denver, Colorado, managed by an operator named David. In a single 30-day period, David spent $20,000 on targeted social media advertising. His advertising dashboard boldly claimed those ads generated $50,000 in direct sales. Meanwhile, his email marketing dashboard proudly reported that his automated flows and weekly newsletters also generated $50,000 in sales. David's total store revenue for the month was only $60,000. The math is completely broken because both platforms are aggressively claiming absolute credit for the exact same customer transaction. This happens because default email attribution models operate on a highly greedy last touch basis, typically utilizing a 5-day tracking window. Imagine a scenario where a potential buyer named Sarah sees a highly compelling video advertisement for David Joint supplement on her social media feed. She clicks the advertisement, spends 10 minutes reading the deep scientific literature on his website, and fully decides she is going to purchase the product when she gets paid on Friday. 3 days later, David's automated system blindly sends out a generic educational newsletter to his entire list. Sarah never even opens this email, but because her email provider automatically preloads the tracking pixel, the software registers a machine open. 2 days later, Sarah navigates directly to David's website by typing the address into her browser and completely finalizes her planned purchase. David's email marketing software immediately swoops in, looks at the historical timeline, sees that a tracking pixel was technically fired within the last 5 days, and violently steals 100% of the financial credit for that sale. It completely ignores the $20 David paid to acquire Sarah through the video advertisement. If David looks strictly at his email dashboard, he will assume his newsletters are printing money and his video ads are failing, prompting him to aggressively cut his advertising budget. This single, flawed operational decision will instantly destroy his top-of-funnel customer acquisition and suffocate his entire business model within months. To permanently immunize your business against this systemic data theft, you must implement a highly rigorous, universally standardized tracking architecture utilizing custom urgency tracking modules, commonly referred to as UTM parameters. You can no longer simply paste a raw website link into your email campaigns. Every single hyperlink, every single image block, and every single call to action button must be heavily appended with specific lines of code that explicitly identify the source, the medium, the specific campaign name, and the exact email variant. Imagine if you could attach a microscopic GPS tracker to every single dollar that flows through your business, allowing you to trace its exact origin point with terrifying precision. By hard-coding these specific parameters into your structural design, you bypass the greedy default attribution models of the email platforms and force the data directly into an impartial, third-party analytics aggregator or a unified store dashboard. This allows you to objectively analyze the true, blended journey of your customer. You will finally possess the historical trends and verifiable data to clearly see that the social media advertisement initiated the crucial first touch, the abandoned cart email actively assisted the conversion, and the direct search finalized the transaction. You stop double counting your revenue and start making hyper-accurate, highly profitable capital allocation decisions. However, even if you successfully clean your list based on verified clicks and flawlessly implement strict parameter tracking to stop revenue double counting, you are still fundamentally failing to answer the single most important financial question in all of e-commerce marketing. Does sending this specific email actually generate net new revenue that would not have existed otherwise? Or are you simply handing out massive discounts to loyal customers who were literally already standing in line at the digital cash register? This concept is known as incrementality, and the failure to measure it is why massive brands routinely cannibalize their own profit margins during holiday sales events. To historically prove true incrementality, elite operators in 2026 deploy absolute control groups. Before launching a highly lucrative 30% off campaign, they deliberately isolate 10% of their active, highly engaged audience and explicitly exclude them from receiving the email entirely. They then meticulously compare the purchasing behavior of the segment that received the heavy discount against the exact behavior of the control group that received absolutely nothing. If the conversion rate of the discounted group is only marginally higher than the control group, it scientifically proves that the email campaign was completely unnecessary, and the brand just voluntarily surrendered tens of thousands of dollars in pure profit margin for absolutely no strategic reason. You must stop guessing and start mathematically proving the baseline value of your communications. But once your data architecture is finally pristine, your tracking is absolute, and your incrementality is mathematically proven, you are finally ready to step into the absolute bleeding edge of digital commerce. You have built a flawless machine, but it is currently operating on static, human-defined rules. What happens when you remove the human bottleneck entirely and allow highly advanced, self-learning algorithms to dynamically rewrite your email copy, instantly swap your product images, and completely alter your sending times for every single individual subscriber based on billions of real-time behavioral data points? The final frontier of e-commerce dominance relies entirely on predictive artificial intelligence, and if you do not fundamentally restructure your entire marketing department around this terrifying new reality immediately, your perfectly tracked, perfectly designed business will be completely obsolete by the end of the year. This terrifying new reality is the era of fully autonomous, predictive artificial intelligence, and it is actively rendering traditional manual email marketing completely obsolete in the year 2026. For the past decade, the absolute pinnacle of e-commerce sophistication was creating complex, branching automation trees based on rigid human logic. You would physically drag and drop an email block into a canvas, Tell the software to wait exactly 2 days, and then send a specific message if the user clicked a specific link. That methodology is now the digital equivalent of using a horse and buggy to race against a magnetic levitation train. The modern consumer generates millions of behavioral data points every single week, and the human brain is biologically incapable of processing that sheer volume of analytical input to make optimal marketing decisions. To survive the current brutal landscape of rising customer acquisition costs, we must completely surrender the manual controls and allow highly specialized machine learning algorithms to systematically hijack the entire communication framework. Let us examine exactly how this autonomous architecture is actively deployed by a massive, highly successful organic nootropic supplement brand based in Portland, Oregon, operated by a founder named Alex. Alex previously employed an entire team of highly paid marketing managers who would spend hours debating whether the weekly promotional broadcast should be sent on Tuesday at 9 in the morning or Thursday at 4 in the afternoon. They were relying on outdated industry benchmark reports and broad demographic generalizations. This is a catastrophic operational error, because human beings do not operate on a synchronized, monolithic schedule. When Alex completely integrated predictive send time optimization algorithms into his technical stack, the AI immediately began analyzing the deeply personal historical behavior of every single one of his 200,000 active subscribers. The machine learning model looked at past open times, click velocity, purchasing windows, and even cross-reference time zone data. Imagine if your marketing software inherently knew the exact biological rhythm of your customer base. The algorithm discovered that a customer named Sarah, a high-powered corporate lawyer living in Boston, historically only opens promotional emails and makes impulse supplement purchases at exactly 11:42 at night on Thursdays, precisely when she is finishing her final brief of the week and feeling exhausted. Simultaneously, it identified that a customer named Michael, an early rising fitness instructor in Miami, strictly purchases his brain optimization supplements at exactly 5:15 in the morning on Sundays before his first class. Alex no longer manually schedules a single broadcast time. He simply loads the core campaign assets into the autonomous engine and gives the AI a 72-hour delivery window. The artificial intelligence dynamically holds the email in a digital staging queue and precision drops the exact same campaign into Sarah inbox late Thursday night and into Michael inbox early Sunday morning. By aligning the exact moment of delivery with the precise millisecond of highest historical psychological susceptibility, Alex witnessed potential outcomes where his baseline conversion rate skyrocketed by over 40% without altering a single word of his copywriting. But predictive timing is merely the absolute baseline of this technological revolution. The true paradigm shift occurs when we transition into the realm of real-time, hyper-dynamic content generation. In the archaic days of early e-commerce, if you launched a new hydration powder, you would choose one primary lifestyle image for the email, perhaps a photograph of a woman running on a beach, and you would send that static image to your entire database. If half of your audience consisted of male weightlifters, that specific visual narrative would completely fail to resonate, creating massive cognitive friction and actively suppressing your total sales volume. In 2026, elite operators like Alex utilize artificial intelligence to execute zero-click dynamic rendering. This means the actual content of the email does not physically exist until the exact fraction of a second the consumer opens it on their mobile device. The AI instantaneously analyzes the user's entire 2-year browsing history, their past purchasing behavior, and their demographic profile. When Sarah opens the new product announcement, the AI server instantly generates and serves a custom lifestyle image of a female professional sitting at a high-end desk, and dynamically rewrites the primary headline to focus entirely on sustained mental focus for long workdays. Less than an hour later, when Michael opens that exact same email campaign, the AI instantly recognizes his physical fitness profile, completely swaps the hero image to a male athlete in a gym environment, and seamlessly alters the live text headline to focus aggressively on central nervous system recovery. It is a one-to-one, infinitely scalable personalized storefront generated entirely on the fly. Historical trends clearly demonstrate that when you entirely remove the cognitive burden of forcing the customer to translate how your physical product fits into their highly specific lifestyle, your click-to-purchase ratios will historically explode, compounding your overall operational revenue to previously unimaginable heights. Furthermore, this predictive intelligence entirely revolutionizes the fundamental mechanics of customer retention and churn prevention. In previous sections, we deeply analyzed the manual win-back sequence, which is inherently a reactive operational strategy. You are essentially waiting for the customer to completely die off, and then you are desperately trying to resuscitate their financial value. Predictive artificial intelligence introduces the highly lucrative concept of the proactive preemptive strike. The machine learning model constantly monitors microscopic, invisible shifts in consumer behavior that a human analyst would never notice. It actively tracks exactly how many seconds a user spends hovering over a specific product image. It monitors the subtle decline in their average order value over a 6-month period, and it analyzes the specific sentiment of their recent interactions with your customer service ticketing system. Based on these billions of micro-interactions, the AI identifies that a highly loyal, multi-year customer named Robert is mathematically exhibiting the exact behavioral trajectory of someone who is going to permanently abandon the brand within the next 14 days. Robert has not actually stopped buying yet, and he has not manually unsubscribed, but his digital momentum is actively decaying. Before Robert ever officially churns and shifts his loyalty to a direct competitor, the AI violently intercepts his psychological trajectory. It autonomously generates a highly specialized, hyper-personalized email completely outside of the standard marketing calendar. It does not offer him a cheap discount. Instead, it offers him a complimentary, high-value digital consultation with a certified nutritionist or a surprise upgrade to free overnight shipping on his next automated subscription refill. The machine actively interrupts the subtle pattern of consumer apathy before that apathy can physically solidify into permanent cart abandonment. This fundamental shift from reactive recovery to predictive retention is the exact operational mechanism that allows the absolute titans of direct-to-consumer e-commerce to aggressively protect their market share and ruthlessly compound their liquid capital year after year. By completely surrendering to this autonomous architecture, you eliminate human error, you bypass manual testing fatigue, and you guarantee that your brand is always deploying the absolute highest converting message to the perfect individual at the exact right moment. You have now meticulously absorbed the complete, uncompromising architectural blueprint for dominating the modern inbox. You understand the profound psychological importance of narrative-driven welcome sequences, the necessary customer service positioning of cart abandonment protocols, the highly precise timing required for predictive replenishment, the ruthless operational necessity of list hygiene, the unyielding engineering demands of mobile-first dark mode optimization, and the absolute financial necessity of mathematically proving incrementality through flawless data tracking. If you aggressively implement these precise structural frameworks into your current operations, you will fundamentally cease to operate a fragile, highly vulnerable digital hustle that lives and dies by the chaotic algorithm updates of third-party social media platforms. You will have successfully constructed an impenetrable, highly scalable, data-driven enterprise backed by a massively profitable owned media ecosystem. But here is the terrifying, inescapable reality that keeps top-tier brand operators violently awake at night as we navigate the current landscape of 2026. Email marketing, no matter how perfectly engineered and autonomously optimized, only represents one specific half of the entire owned media equation. While your email infrastructure might now function as a flawless cash printing machine, the modern consumer is aggressively and rapidly migrating their most urgent, high-intent purchasing behavior to a completely different, exponentially more volatile communication channel. We are talking about a digital environment where historical trends show open rates consistently hovering near a staggering 98% within the first 3 minutes of delivery. However, it is also a highly sensitive, fiercely guarded space where a single misplaced promotional word, a slight technical miscalculation, or a minor violation of aggressive federal compliance laws can result in massive, multi-million-dollar class action lawsuits and the immediate, permanent blacklisting of your entire corporate entity across all major cellular networks. If you thought the technical complexities and psychological nuances of email marketing were intense, the ruthless, highly regulated landscape of predictive SMS text message marketing will fundamentally break your entire business model if you attempt to step into it blindly. Exactly how do you systematically navigate this terrifying legal minefield while simultaneously extracting massive, instantaneous surges of liquid cash flow directly from your customers' personal cell phones without driving them to block your number forever? That is exactly the high-stakes operational framework we are going to meticulously dissect and reverse engineer in the next highly advanced masterclass.